All right, Mr. James, what is your military background?
Well, I started out in the United States Navy submarine force, and then I moved into Naval Security Forces, which is the Navy's law enforcement branch. I got out, and for a short period of time, I went back in the military. I went in the U.S. Army as a military police officer. I went to Iraq twice. I was had career-ending injuries on my second tour, and I got out at 18 and a half, 18, just above 18 and a half years. And I got out, I was a police officer in Connecticut for 3 years. And then I was actually went federal. I was an ICE agent for 10 years. And then I had a career-ending injury, blood clot, going to Russia on deporting a Russian terrorist. And I retired from that. I had enough time, and my military time counted, and my civilian police career counted. So I took the retirement.
What's your favorite memory you have from your service?
Man, I traveled all over the world, north, across the U.S. I've traveled South America, Europe, the Middle East, and I'd probably say all of South America was great. It was awesome. The people, the food, the cultures, it was just awesome.
That's amazing. That's a lot of places to be.
Yeah, it was good times, great memories.
It's to my understanding you and Brad have been close comrades for a while. Could you tell us how and when you guys kicked it off?
Yeah, Brad and I have been we've been friends for about 6 years, and we actually met. One of my ICE buddies is from Wyoming, and he would bring me out to Wyoming for hunts. And I did the Wyoming Big Three: mule deer, elk, and antelope was my last animal that I took. I met Brad on right after my mule deer hunt. I believe I went out first, and then Brad was going on a hunt, and we hunted through another organization, and we just became friends on Facebook. And we started talking. He liked my deer. Then I went out to Alabama to meet Brad. I stayed with him for 2 weeks. Brad was a Green Beret, and he was also a dog handler in the Special Forces. And I bought a Malinois from someone he knew that had a kennel. And actually, the friendship intensified. And when I retired from ICE, Brad, he had talked about this as a dream, and to see it from inception to fruition was just amazing. And Brad had called me up. We talked about it for probably 2 years before he kicked it off. And I had bought a home in Maine. I was retired. My second home was in Maine, and I was up there, and he talked to me, and he said, "Hey, I want you to be a part of this." And I said, "I'll help you any way I can, but I just retired, brother. I want to live my life." He kept pushing, and he said, "Well, I want you on board, and I don't just want you on board. I want you on to be the board president." And we talked for a bit, and he finally broke me down. He ground me down, and I was actually in my house in Maine, and he brought Brandon Long, No Legs Out, and a couple other veterans, and he sent me pictures when they kicked it off. I was still in Maine, and my wife and I ended up leaving Maine because she had got a new job back in San Diego, where our first home was at. And I came out shortly after, and I was amazed. I was just taken aback just by the pictures of the guys and seeing what Brad had started off and was doing. And I actually came out with no intentions to hunt. And I took my first, he was a true 10-pointer, but he was an old warrior. He had broke 2 of his points. And that was my first deer I took. And I took one in a smaller town. We have a Army buddy, Purple Heart recipient at Fort Chadbourne in Brant, Texas. And we went out there for some management hunts. And then I kept coming back out, shooting a lot of hogs, doing a lot of hog management. There's some tanks out here, and doing some turkey hunting. But when we're out here and we're hunting, we're managing the land as well. So no matter what hunt you're on, if you see a predator, it turns into a predator hunt. So coyote, hog, raccoons, it turns into that hunt. And I was just last week, I was with some turkey hunters, and we had the hog problem is exploded, and I ended up shooting hogs at pistol range that walked up on us as we were calling in birds. But just an amazing place to be, March Ranch. Brad is the co-founder along with the one of the ranch owners who invited Brad out here. Brad actually hunted here with another group. Brad developed a friendship with the owners, and they invited him to take over when they fired their ranch manager. And Brad has implemented an awesome deer management program. So we haven't shot does here in 3 years, and we're seeing a lot of does that are having twins. We haven't taken many hens during the hen season for turkeys, so the turkey population is thriving.
What kind of animals have you yourself harvested here on the ranch?
Here on the ranch, I've harvested deer, white-tailed deer. We do have access. I've seen them and heard them, but we haven't taken any. I've harvested quite a few hogs out here, and some turkeys, and raccoons, predators. I've harvested a few predators, done some predator hunting, and they're loaded. This is truly God's country out here.
You say you've heard axes. They sound different than a whitetail?
Yeah, they have a. If you've never heard the female do her bark or screech, it'll put goosebumps on your neck at night, and they'll walk through the woods doing that call. I don't know much about access. I've hunted them. I've taken one, a big buck, but I've never heard that noise. And Brad and I were out on the porch, and we heard it, and I was like, "What the hell is that?" And he was like, "That's an access. It's a female." And you'd think it was a damn banshee if you
Wow, really?
didn't know any better.
Wow, so similar to like an elk almost.
Yeah,
That sound, huh?
it's higher pitch, so
Wow.
it will get your attention.
What was your final rank in each branch that you were in?
Well, I had some issues leaving the Navy, and but I was wronged by my command. So I made E6, and I was busted down 2 ranks. But before I left the Navy, I filed with the IG. I go into the Army as an E4. I made E5, but I was called back to that base by the IG, who told me I was wronged by the command in that bust. And he asked me what I wanted. You know, I had moved on in careers, and I didn't think to ask for my rank back. And when they busted me, they took a month's pay. I could have got all of that back. And I actually served with that IG earlier in my career. He was a commissioned officer in Norfolk, Virginia. So he knew me. And yeah, so they said you were wronged. I just moved on with my life. I don't hang on to things. I just think it's easier to let go and move on with your life, which I did.
Well, we do thank you for your service and everything you have done.
Thank you for your support, brother.